Guys, I'm Charlie Book Fanatic. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to talk to you about my 2 and 3 star reads, and I've also one DNF that I'm going to be talking about. I forgot to do it last time, but I'm going to do it now because I remembered. And I'm wearing my glasses again because sun, and I film at the time of day when the sun is highest, so you'll have to deal with it. Let's start with some of the statistics. I read a total of 16 books this month and 1 DNF, so actually 17 books. 9 of these books were written by a female author. 2 of these books were written by a male author. 2 of these books were set in other countries than England or North America. 2 of these books had LGBTQ+ elements in them. 2 of these books had people of colour in them. 1 of these books was historical fiction. 8 of these books were contemporary books. 3 of these books are fantasy or have fantastical elements in them. 8 of these books are young adult. 2 of these books are new adult. And 2 of these books are adult. I have 1 DNF, 0 1-star books, 1 2-star book, and 9 3-star books. Let's dive straight in with my DNF, which was The Spirit Rebellion. This is the 2nd book in the Legends of Eli Monpress series. The series is about a thief called Eli Monpress who wants to increase his bounty, and a girl called Miranda who is after Eli Monpress and tries to catch him. And that was basically what the first book consisted of. Eli stole the king and Miranda chased after him to try to get the king back to the castle, and antics ensued. When I read the first book, I rated 3 stars and I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue on with the series, but I did finish the first book, and after I finished that one I wanted to give the 2nd book a chance, which I did, but I felt very bored. I barely could get through it. I had a hard time, and that is why I eventually DNF'd it. I was bored through the 2nd book, and I wasn't going to pressure myself into reading this whole series and into finishing this book if I didn't enjoy it. Then on to my 1 2-star book, which was Alice and Oliver by Charles Bock. This book had people of colour in it. It was very diverse, and I obviously rated it 2 stars. This book is about a woman who has cancer, and that is literally all that is about. The woman is called Alice, and Oliver is her husband who's trying to take care of her. But things happened in this book that I didn't agree with, and I thought were very random. And Alice, the woman who has cancer, was really not likable. None of the characters in this book were likable, and that was what bothered me most about it, because I didn't feel sympathy towards these characters. So I finished it, and I had such a struggle with it, because I honestly, it had its moments. Like, it was, the research behind cancer and the facts behind it were very well thought out and very well researched, but I didn't feel any sympathy. It was more like a science book to me than a journey with the characters, and that's why I rated it 2 stars. Then my 9 3-star books. The first book is Emmy and Oliver by Benway. This book had LGBTQ+ elements in it with a major side character. I liked this book, but I thought it had a very strange premise. Emmy is a girl who has lived in this town for years. She had a best friend when she was younger who was called Oliver, but Oliver eventually got abducted by his dad and he was never found, until one day he turns up again and he has to live with his mother and become Emmy's next door neighbour, and Emmy has to get to know him all over again. It was sweet, I guess, but I didn't feel any chemistry between Emmy and Oliver, and I did like Emmy, but Oliver really was not my kind of guy. I don't know why, I really can't explain it. I just didn't like him. I didn't feel any sympathy towards him. I just felt like he was kind of whiny. I didn't like any of the major side characters. Like, I felt like all the characters were way too quirky to be realistic, even though an author blurbed on the front of the book that all the characters were written realistically. I didn't feel like that at all. I felt like the characters were way too quirky. There was a major side character who is gay, and I like that element of it, but again, I felt like he was way too quirky and way too stereotypically gay. Next book I'm going to be talking about is Rumours, which is the 2nd book in the Lux series by Godbersen. The Lux series is a historical fiction series, and it's basically drama. Girls in pretty dresses trying to marry guys and fall in love with guys, and all of their problems in a historical fiction setting like late 1800s, beginning 1900s. This is really a guilty pleasure series for me. I liked the 2nd book more than I did the 1st book. Just It's not written well or anything, it's not high-standing literature, but it doesn't have to be. And I described this as the selection series, but in historical fiction setting. I think it could be very much described like that. Very tragic events happen in these books, but they don't really do anything for me. I don't cry, I don't feel any sympathy towards these characters, but they're just a guilty pleasure read. They're really addictive, they're fast-paced, you get through them so quickly. Even though this one was pretty long, I think it was over 400 pages, I felt like I got through it so quickly because so much happened and we get all of these characters' perspectives. Then we have Smut, which is a standalone by Karina. Halle, this is a new adult novel and it's about two college students who are in the same creative writing class, and they get paired up to do their senior project together before they can graduate, and they really hate each other, but it's a hate to love relationship. And there was too much sex in this book. That is why I raised it 3 stars. Like, it was fun, there was a lot of banter and funny sentences and funny quotes that I really liked in this book, but I felt like there was too much sex and I didn't care about that. Not everything has to be about sex. I want to know about their relationships, their friendships, not only their relationship between them two as a couple, but also between their families and between their friends, and just a relationship more developed and not only about their sexual chemistry. The next book is Catching Jordan, which is the first book in the 100 Oak series by Miranda Kenneally. This book is about a girl called Jordan who's in the American football team, and then a new guy comes to the school and he's also a quarterback from another school, but he moved to 100 Oaks High School and try to get on the American football team, but Jordan is also a quarterback and they're kind of rivals for that position. Jordan is immediately attracted to Ty, but it's not only about that, it's about Jordan's relationship with the guys on the football team and the way they interact with each other. And that was what I really liked about this book. I really liked the relationship between Jordan and every guy on the team, like how protective they were of her and how respectful they were towards her, because Jordan was the captain of the team. I rated it 3 stars because I really did not like Ty. I just didn't. I couldn't, and I guess that was Miranda Kenneally's intention, but he was in such a big part of the book and he was so controlling, I honestly couldn't care for him less. Then we have Anything But Broken, which is the first book in the Hurricane Creek series by Joelle. Knox. This is a new adult series, and this book didn't really do anything for me. Again, I think this is a huge part of new adult that I really dislike. This book was again mostly about sex and not really about the relationship, and this was even worse than Smut was. I want to see more relationship and not just the sexual tension and the lust these kids experience. And this book about a girl called Hannah who moves back to her hometown of Hurricane Creek, but she lost her sister Kate a couple years earlier, and she was always in love with this guy Sean, but Sean was Kate's boyfriend before she died. And it's about the relationship that's blossoming between, but mostly lust, like I said. So annoying. I did like how it wasn't only about their sexual relationship though, it was also about all of these tragedies that had befallen all of them, and about all of these revelations that took place. But I am mostly looking forward to the next book because there were 2 side characters in this book that I was really shipping together, and the next book is all about them, so I hope I will like that one more than I did this one because I definitely want to read it because of those characters. The next book is A Court of Thorns and Roses, which is the first book in the Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas, and again I rated this 3 stars because I expected more from it. This book was so hyped, I just expected so much from it, and I didn't really like it. I especially didn't like Tamlin, and I even like Lucian more, who isn't even a love interest in this book, but honestly Tamlin is really not my kind of guy, and I expected to only get worse. I really liked Reese in this first book, and I ship Feyre basically with everything and everyone except for Tamlin. Like, that is my problem with this book. But this book is about Feyre who kills a wolf, and that wolf is not exactly really a wolf, it's actually a fae, and because she killed this wolf, she gets taken to Tamlin's estate. I have heard great things about the sequel, A Call of Mist and Fury, though. Even people who didn't like the first book at all really hated the fucking first book. Absolutely adored the second book. So I think that's reason enough to pick up the second one, even though it's really thick. I honestly want to read it because Sam from Thoughts on Thorns read the first book and hated it, and then read A Court of Mist and Fury, and it was a 5-star read for her. I want to read it so bad, just because of that. Then we have Forgive Me, Leonard, Peacock by Matthew Quick. This book is about a guy who wants to commit suicide. He wants to kill his ex-best friend first because of the way he's been tormenting him for years, and then he wants to shoot himself through the head. And I expected more from this book. I expected more of an emotional impact, but Leonard was just a lost boy. He was annoying. He was so quirky, and all the people he knew were really quirky, but the way... There was this girl, a pastor's daughter, and she was promoting faith. She was standing on the street and she was talking about faith and handing out these flyers to people, and Leonard encountered her, and he was really rude to her, and he acted towards her as if she was an object and not really a female with emotions, as if she was just there to attract him, to be attractive to him, and to be plot device, basically. And I really don't like that. He acted as if she was leading him on. Well, she didn't even do anything. He just had this thought in her head that she must like him and that he must kiss her as his one goal in life before he would kill himself. Like, honestly, that is so disrespectful, and it annoyed the heck out of me. And it made me really dislike him as a character, and that is not a good thing if he is the main character who wants to kill himself. Then we have Friends of the Impossible Life, which is a standalone. This book has people of colour in it, and it has LGBTQ+ elements in it, and it is by Kate Scelsa. This book was a 4-star read for me all the way through until the ending. Nothing was resolved in the ending of this book. It was so bad, like there was no resolution at all, and it was just an open ending, and literally anything could have happened. Anything. And that's what annoyed me most about this, and why I raised it 3 stars and not 4 stars. This book is about 3 characters, a girl Mira, a boy Sebastian, and they have been friends for years and years, and then there's suddenly this other guy called Jeremy who comes into their friend group, and it's basically kind of a love triangle, I would say, but you never really know. Like, there is a bisexual character in this and there's a gay character in this, and 2 gay characters even, and one of them is a major side character and one of them is a main character. But it was so weird. It was not a realistic situation at all. It was just weird. Weird as fuck. I'm not gonna lie. It was nothing like I would have imagined it would be. It was a good book for a debut novel, but maybe give a bit more resolution in your next one, because there was a standalone book and I feel like I wasted my time on it. The last one was a non-fiction book, which was called This Is Where You Belong by Melody Warnick, and this was the science behind loving the place where you live, and it was a lot of science and a lot of studies, but it was mostly tips to love the place where you live more, and I expected more of the science behind loving the place where you live without doing all of those things. Like, some tips were go walking, go volunteering, go shop within 1 mile, shop locally, and I didn't do any of those things. Like, I don't volunteer, I don't walk a damn lot, at least not in the place where I live, and I still absolutely love it, and I don't do any of those things. So I would love the science behind that more, instead of coming to love the place where you live more. I was expecting that from it, but I guess people could enjoy it if they move to a new place, which people in America do a lot. They migrate a lot, and I feel like that could be a really good thing if you're hesitant about moving and you don't really know if you will love the place where you live, But that was not the case with me, and it was kind of a waste of time for me to rate this because I didn't really get anything out of it. These were the 11 books for this first video. I'm going to be talking about 6 more in the next video about my 4 and 5 star reads. I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know down below which books you have read in June. Have you read any of the books I read, and what did you think about them? Do you want to read any of the books I just talked about? Let me know down below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye!